That's an edit point. I know what I'm doing.
Just really happy to be here.
I am really happy to be here. It's like knowing the house. Do you know what I mean? Those 3 torturous fucking serial killer children I have. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Braw Cast. You might notice that we're not in a cupboard. We're not doing it over the internet. Look at this. We're in real life. And JJ's here as well.
Hello.
JJ's here as well. So it's going to be a very special episode. We are so excited. We are here at Winton Brewery, which is somewhere not near Edinburgh. What would be a best place? Because showing my ignorance, where are we?
Haddington.
We're in Haddington, right? Which I know it might sound terrible, but if you don't know where Haddington is, that makes 2 of us. I got brought here by a sat-nav. I had to take a sat-nav. I actually had to buy a sat-nav driving home from when I bought a car. That shows you how terrible.
Like one of them old TomTom ones.
First cut, one of the TomToms one. I'll still get an email every now and then going, can you update your TomTom? I don't have a clue. We're excited to be here at Winton Brewery. It's going to be our first one on the road. We're really excited about it. And I think the best way of introducing my guests would be to let you do it yourselves. Okay. So you can let me know. It sounds weird. It sounds like it's a dating video, doesn't it? Just tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm in.
Yeah, you're in. So
I'm Liam. I'm a Leo.
You're a Leo. Lovely. So first of all, sir.
Right. Well, I'm Liam. I am the head brewer here at Winton as of about 2.5 weeks ago.
Wow.
So still nice and wet behind the ears and figuring out what works and what doesn't.
What happened to the last guy?
Oh, he's in a batch. He's in a special.
He's in a batch.
He's got a special 40% proof beer.
Yeah, he's aging away in them barrels up there. Like.
It's just the way you said that 2.5 weeks ago. It sounded so specific, like you've been counting the days down. So 2.5 weeks in the gig.
Yeah. So have 2 brews under my belt now. Kind of bit of a trial by fire, figuring out how everything goes. But seems to be going all right. I've not had to dump a whole batch of beer yet, so that's a nice sign. Not
knowing enough about the process, I imagine at this point that's pretty high on.
Yeah, sure. Everything will kind of come together after a while. It's just, kind of flying by the seat of my pants and figuring it out as you go along, just making sure there's still good beer pumping out the door. Like
that's exactly what you want.
Yeah.
And yourself, sir?
So I'm Steve. I own Winton Brewery. So it's myself and David own Winton Brewery, and we've had it for about 6 years and sort of 4 commercially now. So I'll just reiterate with Liam. So we brought Liam on a couple of weeks ago. Now Liam applied for our head brewer position 2 years ago.
Right.
And it was between Liam and a lad called Nolan who we took on. Unfortunately, he was a good lad. I mean, unfortunately for Liam, at that time we didn't take him on. So Liam just kept in touch for the last couple of years, which was brilliant. And so once a month he'd just ping over a message, check how we're doing and stuff like that. And so as soon as we knew Nolan was leaving, we were just like, we have to give Liam a shout. So,
brilliant.
So we gave Liam a shout, and so he was living in Dublin at the time, so he's uprooted, he's back over here. Him and his missus Fran, so it's great that they're over here, and we're delighted. We're absolutely delighted to have him. So again, when he's saying that he's flying by the seat of his pants, the boy can brew. We're not worried about it. It's the kit. That's all it is. He's getting used to the kit and all of it. He's not like walking in going, right, so I put this grain where? No, he knows exactly what he's doing, and we're delighted to have him. And he's got his first small batch now, so we do like for the pub that we own, the Station Yard down in Dunbar. So we have small batch stuff. It's behind me somewhere, but it's so that's his free reign to make whatever he wants. So we've got some funky stuff coming down to the pub through that. So he's got a couple of big brews and a wee brew in there. So we're just excited to see what it's going to bring us. And you can tell by his face, he's super excited to be here. He's super excited to be here too.
You totally undersold yourself as well.
Exactly.
You made it sound like you were on a YTS. It was the first time.
Exactly what I thought.
You just set the bar low.
Set the bar low.
Anyone then, like.
It's like, I've made a couple of slush puppies in my time. If I could get through that. So where we are is, I see all manner of trinkets, and I would love to show you some of the amazing stuff we're looking at. This is the principal brewery. Yeah. This is base camp. What exactly goes on specifically where we are? We can see, I don't even want to know, I'm sure I'm going to get the name wrong. So we see the brewers and what have you behind us. So what would you guys call this in terms of home base?
So it's kind of the whole point of production, from getting malted barley in the door, turning into final product beer. So we've got the brewhouse and the cellar. Yeah. So the brewhouse is where you make the wort, which is just like the sugary sort of pre-beer water. Then you mix your yeast into that in the tanks, fermented in the tanks. That's where you get your alcohol. Kind of depending on the beer, you might throw a few little extras in there as well. Some fruit puree for our sours and a lot of dry hops for our kind of hoppier beers. Then from there, it'll move on into the conditioning tanks, kind of settle down for a little while, clarify. Then from there, we'll package it into kegs or cask if it's for keg or cask, or if it's for can, we'll get it into a big bag and box that we have up there, which is essentially like a wine bag.
Yeah.
And then we send it offside to get canned. So we'll send it off, say goodbye, and then about a week later get back a pallet of lovely finished cans.
Say goodbye.
Yeah.
You just made that sound so romantic.
It's not. I love to say it is romantic. It literally gets stuck in the back of my van, and I have this nerve-jangling journey to Dundee with a ton weight in the back of the transit van going, every single bump and all the rest of it.
Oh, no, really?
So it goes up. We've got pals up at 71 Brewing, so we get it all canned up in Dundee. So it's until we get our own, where we are just now, we're slightly restricted with space, so we're hoping we get a bigger space soon enough, and we can have our own canning line and stuff, and save that so we can do everything in-house and maybe offer it as a service to other people as well, you know. So
how did the story start for Winton Brewery? I know it's. I expect you've told this story a dozen times. You give me whatever version of it you're happy with.
You have to spiel down now at this stage.
Oh, absolutely got this spiel. I remember what did I do? I've done the last 2 years ago now because of course Corona. So we 2 years ago did the Royal Highland show, and I did a big show, the trade fair in Glasgow.
Okay.
And it was literally every single person, every 4 seconds came around, and you're going, so I'm Steve from Winton Brewery. I nearly got to the stage where I had a chalkboard around my neck with the bullet points of what we're doing and stuff. But the long and short of it really is, so myself and David, we both live in, but he just moved back to Haddington, but we lived in Pincaitlin at the time.
Okay.
And we've been toying around with something for ages, like what we could do together. You know, he currently works offshore. I was in some crappy wee job elsewhere, you know, and it was just try to find something that we can do. And we just started chatting about craft beer and beer in general. So we thought, well, why don't we just go and get a wee kit and see how we get on with it and stuff. So so bought the kit. I mean, it's 150 quid or something from the brew store up in Edinburgh.
Way!
And so it just started there. So we just got all the grain and bits, and we took it home, and we made, I think it was a third brew, Peely Wally, product placement.
Peely Wally. I'll just make sure to get that in for the camera there. Peely Wally is available. You can see there. What are the ingredients? Barley, wheat, water, hops, yeast.
Pretty simple.
No pissing about.
Absolutely. So Peely Wally was sort of born after like the third brew. So again, it was, so we just kept home brewing, and we're just bouncing ideas off each other. But Peely Wally just kept coming, and from time to time, you know, it was 2%. You know, we were no brewers at this time, but it's and at times it was like 7%. You know, it just depends what happened with the yeast and all the rest of it. You know, so one particularly. Yeah, I would say inebriated, maybe drunken.
Okay.
You know, one of those nights sitting at my kitchen table, drinking Peely Wally from the bucket pretty much. Decided that, you know, we should do this. You know, it'd be good fun to go and do this together. And so Winton Brewery was born. So Winton is named after, there's an estate nearby in Pincaitlin, so it's named after the estate there. So that was to give us a real good sort of local feel, you know. So you're from the area, you'd have an instant, they're from, that's where they're
the
from.
connection, yeah.
Absolutely.
And it helps tell the story of your brand as well when people are all around the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it gives us that, I always want to have that sort of nice local feel to it, so people feel like, there's Steve and David, hello, how you doing, and all the rest of it. But then the beer names, obviously, so we'll quickly run through
I mean,
them.
the beer names are so unique, uniquely Scottish as well.
They've got to be, you know, we're a fiercely proud Scottish brand, you know.
Yes.
We've got nothing against our cousins over the borders and all the rest of it, but we're Scottish through and through. The whole brand is Scottish, and it should be. You know, we should celebrate it and not be ashamed to be, you know, celebrating something that you're patriotic about and all the rest of it.
Definitely, definitely. And if you are starting a fight over the border, don't worry. We've got some of our lines on here to keep our script strong. So we've got so many. So I'm holding a can of Moan then, which I don't think how that gets mangled around the world. You know,
Peely Wally is the one.
Peely Wally.
Peely Wally. You know,
Peely Wally.
Barry Swally. So there's always something. You know, you go a pint of Peely Wally, and you go,
oh goodness sake.
So Peely Wally, so that's our IPA. Barry Swally. So again, it's generally around 11:30 on a Friday night. These ideas pop in my head. You know, so.
Are you drinking from a bucket then as well?
No,
or?
The bucket's now being, you know, we're high class now. You know,
right.
It's a glass now in the bucket and a straw. So with Barry Swally, and then Tapsaf, the lager. So that's brilliant, the Tapsaf, the lager, and it is absolutely that Scottish thing. As soon as the sun's out, guns out, you know.
Definitely.
Get that Tapsaf. And the plan is really to have one, you know, an autumny sort of beer, which will be Taps on, so it'll be something a bit more, something a bit punchy or something for the autumn time.
Nice.
And so we've got two sours, which are absolutely ripped off Billy Connolly, huge inspiration to us. So there's this one's, and it was that whole thing of swearing without swearing in front of your granny and all the rest of it. So, and because generally I've been at farmers markets or events, and I've had a wee old lady going, oh yeah, what it's so that's called Oyabasa for obvious reasons, because the sour hits you in the face and you go, oh jeez, what is that sort of thing. And then we have our new sour, which is a cherry, and that is called Oh You Can't Make a Cherry Sour. It's got quite a long title. There's a comma, I'm afraid, but it's quite a long title. And the last one that I wanted to sort of bring up there a wee bit with you is the Monnen. So that's our new New England IPA. So 10% of the profits are going to reverse Rett. So my niece has a syndrome called Rett Syndrome, and so generally to shorten up for you a little bit, it's so she developed normally up until about 2 years old, and then there's a protein deficiency in the Y chromosome. I think I've got that right. And so what happened? They just so she just stopped, developing. Like she's the same age as my son. So so she's had a real tough time and all the rest of it. So anything we can do to help reverse Rett, and the phenomenal work they're doing.
Amazing.
And I mean, they do think that there is change. The change could come with that. And so, I mean, if we're putting a wee bit of money a month to it and then helping raise awareness, and
well, that's it, isn't it?
It'd be brilliant, So that's reverse Rett. So give them a shout.
Have they got a website?
Aye, so it's yes.
So we'll stick the website in a link in the description.
We'll definitely stick it out. So I've got to ask, in terms of because I've got you here, John, as well. How did this relationship all come about? Did you were you indulging in some Tab Saf and it just all kicked off? Or?
We were just driving along one day and there's this guy in the bushes and
it
was just like there's what's that big hairy man in the bushes doing across there, and he's waving at us.
Funnily enough, that's how we met as well. It was in the middle of a roundabout, and I went, he's not meant to be there. So how did this relationship come about with Brawbeard? Because the cool thing about this is, because it is so uniquely Scottish, and I hate using the phrase it's no off the peg. You really got to you've got to enjoy this type of beer, and plenty of more people are I don't know, 30 years ago, it wouldn't have been as. I hate using the phrase.
Warm.
Do you know what I mean? It would have been. It would have been your Uncle Peter making it in his shed, and nobody goes near Peter anymore because you know why. But
it's funny you should say
that. Is he here?
I've just realised I was going to sort of segue into that, and I realised what you said at the end of that sentence. But down at the far end, you can't see it, but there's a bucket down there. So it's actually got. I was born in '78. And so there's a bucket down there. It's my dad's old brewing bucket.
No
from
way.
1978,
really?
the year I was born. So it's,
that's brilliant.
So, but he told me it was like piss water. It's three of them drinking it, absolutely smashed. It's like vinegar.
Your uncle would get it for or your dad would get one for Christmas, and it's like, this is what I've been waiting for. I don't need to leave the house anymore. But he's trying to make McEwen's export, and he can't even come near it.
You don't even get anywhere close.
He can't even come near it.
Close.
But this has made such a connection with people of alternative lifestyles, people out in the Hebrides, all around the place. What's the furthest reach that we think we're going with?
So it's funny, even just this week we've got stuff, I mean, randomly going down to, we've got London this week, Preston, there's a couple of places in Wales, I've got someone looking for Northern Ireland.
Brilliant.
We've got a few people looking for bigger orders maybe in France, which is random. And David's got really good connections in Norway with his offshore job, so we've got some really good strong stuff across there. So I mean, again, it started off really local, just the local shops and bits and bobs, but as every day it feels like we're getting bigger, and it's really, really exciting to feel the growth and to be, obviously I'm saying I started with the bucket, you know what I mean? So to have this kit behind me and, a proper brewer, you know what I mean, David? We are the ones that are swinging by our pants and all the rest of it. This man knows his stuff, you know.
So when did you know that kind of the tyres were starting to grip the dirt? This is starting to become a thing, which is exciting in any new business or any new venture.
It's a funny one, because it was sort of going steady. And again, when we started, we were in bottles, and it was all bottle conditioned. We were cuckoo brewing at another brewery. Right. It wasn't, and none of it was our stuff. It was all. I mean, at one point we were literally wrapping the labels on by hand, writing the dates on the back, every single bottle. And I mean, this was it was awful.
This is like something from the Prohibition.
I started as well. Same idea, just on,
and you write it down and stuff. And I mean, it took forever. And I think once you know you've done that hard graft and you've been there at the very start and you put the hours in and all the rest, I think it's now when we take it up to get canned elsewhere and stuff, it makes such a difference. But the feeling of it getting bigger again, I was literally the breaking point was me. It was we've got like an IBC which holds about 1,000 litres, and I was filling Oyabasa into bottles, which was 330 bottles. And so I had 6 filling things, and I was there from 6 in the morning till about 2 in the morning. Jeez. And I had to come back the following day to fill in the remainder and stuff. And I was, you know, that thing you're actually shouting at the beer because this thing just wasn't going down. You know, even though every hour that passed, I look and I go, it's not moved. And I was getting angrier and angrier. And I think, even then, I still had my other job to go to, like that afternoon or something. So it was like, this is the time now that once I quit my job, do this full time, and then it really took arms and legs and started flying.
Well, that's what I was wanting to ask about, because I know what it's like when I went, I'm going to do comedy full time, and I had to clear that with my better half. Well, but by then she was just go do it. You're driving me mad. Go do it. I'll take the hit with the bills, and you're still our sweetheart, bless you. Still our sweetheart. If you could just write that world famous novel, that would be amazing. I could retire. What was it you did before you got into this side?
So, so I grew up in Haddington. So did David. He's a couple of years younger than me. So I suppose back then you would say that it was just typical story, wrong crowd, getting yourself into bother and bits and bobs. And I was turning 18, just tossing around, not doing anything. There wasn't any plan and all the rest. And my mum saw an advert for a blue coat in Pontins, and she said, "Oh, you've got the sort of good personality for that and stuff like that." So I thought, okay, I'll give that a bash.
Now we're into it.
This is the old school. So it's so I got packed off down to Newcastle for an audition. I'd never been to an audition in my life, and so the guy goes, this is the first time you're hearing this, I think, isn't it? Have you got your song ready? And I'm like, I didn't care. So there's a guy in the piano, and he's, do you know Wonderwall? I goes, aye. So I started singing Wonderwall badly. It's okay if you've got 3 pints in you, you know, that sort of perfect, like pool, you know, you play pool perfectly at 3 pints. And so I sang this song and just was myself, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I think it's just, and so I got, they phoned me up and said, we love you and all the rest. And I was just going, I'm just an nurse from Haddington. You know, I didn't see this happening. And about 2 weeks later, I was down in Devon. So I spent, a couple of years in Devon, some in Yarmouth. And so I spent, my early 20s travelling around and living the dream and just getting drunk and having a good time, as you should do. And it's genuinely, I think it saved me from anything else that could have happened.
100%.
It's one of them it's absolute sliding door moment, getting on the train and just going, oh my God, I'm going to. I mean, Devon was miles and miles away from.
Oh yeah, with that age as well.
Absolutely.
It's no disrespect if we've got anyone watching from Devon. It's a very different world down there.
Absolutely, compared to I'm from the Nungate area of Haddington, so I mean it's and I love it. The Nungate's if you're from the Nungate, it's in your bones. It's a funny thing because it's rough around the edges. I think it's to quote a famous lyricist, it's what's his name? Jerry Cinnamon, and it's diamonds in the rough. You know when he's talking about Glasgow, it's diamonds in the mud. Sorry.
Yes.
And I think there's 100%. There's so many good folk up in the Nungate and it's sort of got a bad reputation, but it's where I'm from. It's a good place and the good people and stuff up there. So I'd like to do one of these mad shout-outs to the Nungate Massive, but I mean that'd be daft. I'm 42 years old now. Massive. Getting the gang not that I know them anymore.
Can I just say there's a t-shirt opportunity right there. You'll see the 2 guys wearing it and all.
That'll be the next beer. Nungate Massive.
Nungate Massive.
But so it got me out of there, and then as I'm saying, I worked abroad for a wee while, and then I was famously, as my friends will all tell you, I was an elf in Lapland for a month.
Yes. Perfect.
And it was like proper, like full-on makeup in the morning, skidoo to work. It was sometimes reindeer that took you to work. It was one of these mad life experiences. And then you get in, and there'd be this wee house, and they're like concave windows, I think it was.
You sound like you missed the house.
Oh, the house was amazing because you're just pretty much wrapped up in sleeping bags next to some pretty girls. It was a good time of life. You know?
Oh wow!
So it was, but Santa was a drunk. I should let you know. He was a rare and drunk, that man. So it was.
Is his name Peter by any chance?
My uncle Peter.
Uncle Peter. Stay away from Peter. Everyone.
He appeared again. But so came back and just did bar jobs, standard bits and bobs, and then. Again, still rudderless, that sort of thing, and you just try to find.
But you're clocking up experiences.
Yeah, aye. And so I went and studied drama, and I loved that, and did a few bits and bobs.
Hang on, you literally started this halfway. I didn't really do anything, and already we've had pointings. I studied drama. Did I mention I won an Oscar? Any point?
It's true, but I suppose that's the thing. And if you're in that lifestyle, it's sort of. It really does. You sort of pull it, and you'll do a random job here, and you'll get something, and you'll go, brilliant. I'm doing a fringe. I'm doing the fringe for a couple of months, and you're out selling your soul to the devil and all the rest. But I mean, I suppose there has been a lot of stuff in there, but it's trying to find the career.
It all leads to something. You're getting to also experience Scotland in a very unique way, and
Absolutely.
I think that's shown with what you guys are.
Well, I think so I sort of generally do the along with David for certain things, but the marketing and the branding and stuff like that. So it's it's sort of half my vision and a bit of David's in there too, and it's the way me and David work. I'm very much I'm the guy in the clouds, sort of thinking sort of. David's very much linear, and he can pinpoint the end and all the rest of it, and he's very focused, and he's I love him. He's my best mate in the world, obviously. Yeah. So, but I can throw in the curveballs and bits and bobs that we need from time to time. But then he just comes up with some brilliant ideas too. So between the two, because if there's two linears or two mad folk, it just wouldn't work.
It's just chaos.
It's chaos, absolutely. So he brings me down and I bring him up. So there's a real good balance now between the two.
So you've really got to live up to that story in terms of I'll have I was a cage fighter before.
That's only 3 weeks.
Came in, but in terms of your skill set, that's not something that most people it's not something you send away and you get a tape for. You can do a master or watch a YouTube video to really master. How did that journey come about for you then?
I had a sort of, let's say, a more direct route to market. I finished studying chemical engineering in Dublin at home. It was like at home, like you're really sort of pushed into the pharma industry. I think in the same way as if you study it here, you're pushed into working on the rigs sort of thing. And I was like, I don't really have any interest in going to work for Pfizer and turning some clear liquid or white powder into some other clear liquid or white powder. Yeah. So I was like, right.
There are other chemical companies.
There are other companies available.
There's millions of them.
Wendoline.
I think couldn't think of any other brand.
Saying that, Pfizer doing all right just now.
I don't think they'll be worried about us down here.
So. I wanted to put off being an adult for another year, so I went, right, I'll go do a master's in brewing and distilling.
Amazing.
In Harriet Watt here in Edinburgh. My best mate got a homebrew kit from his folks for his, I think it was 15th birthday or something.
Okay. So this all seems to start in the same place.
That's Ireland for you. That's Ireland right there.
It's actually an Englishman who'd just moved over. So
was he?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Well. So we're just making buckets of pish for a couple of years, like proper bring them down into the change room after a rugby game, and lads there taking a sip, being like, it's free, so
at least there's definitely alcohol in here. I'm gonna drink it anyway.
So I still hadn't made anything worth actually drinking or in any way enjoyable. Went, sure, look, I'll go over. Went over thinking, thought I knew a fair bit about beer. Knew absolutely nothing.
Right.
So it was proper learning from scratch. But got through it. Learned a ridiculous amount, but then didn't know how to apply any of it because it was learning from a book and a slideshow sort of thing. So was hoping to stay here. I didn't manage to wrangle myself a job. These lads weren't looking at the time. Went back to
it's all worked out. It's like Ross and Rachel. It's all worked out.
So I went back to a brewery at home. Worked there for about a year and a half. And then me and my girlfriend decided to pack in and piss off travelling for a couple of months.
Excellent.
Did the old Southeast Asia route.
Lovely.
Came back, got another job at a brewery in just outside of Dublin. Worked there for a couple of months. Then these lads started to look for a brewer, which is the aforementioned them deciding to not give me a job. But it's look where we are now. Worked there for about a year and a half until these lads came knocking, and it was handing in the notice straight over.
It was banging, get your ass over here.
2.5 weeks into the gig, and how you find it? It's weird how life turns you into complete circle, doesn't it? After you say that close call, but do you think it's been the right journey getting into it? Because you got all that extra experience, like you were talking about.
100%. That's the thing. So the brewery I've just come from, I went in as an assistant brewer, and about 2 months in, the head brewer left quite suddenly. Okay. So I came in on Monday morning, and they went, right, Liam, you're the head brewer now. Go on.
Wow.
Okay, I'm not ready for this. But so again, a bit of a trial by fire, but figured it out. I sort of knew enough from the previous year and a half, the last brewery, to sort of plenty of mistakes along the way, but sort of to make things work. And then because I was, sort of in charge, willingly or unwillingly, I kind of built up a lot of skills that I wouldn't have had if I'd kind of come over whenever they were first looking for someone. So I think I'm probably in a better position now to be able to kind of push the brewery onto that next level.
So for
jeez, what was that? That was so good until you did that wee bit. Push the brewery. You did like a sailor thing.
I'm going to start just banging out the cliches now.
That was a TED Talk. We're really going to push the envelope, smash the monkey. I don't know if that's an expression. That sounded dirtier than I was expecting. But in terms of like to a layman like myself, really bringing to life the flavours and the taste of what you're going to do, how does that work? Is that like something you put in place, or is it a collaboration together? How do we go about doing that? Because I mean, I don't know, I can barely make a macaroni and cheese, so let alone that's the extent. But to take it through from a creation, an idea, how does that even come about? Is there a whiteboard even? I want it to taste like this, I want it to taste like that.
So, obviously there's lots of different styles of beer and stuff, but generally and the way we would work, and particularly Liam, again, we're all still getting used to each other a wee bit and all the rest of it. So we're talking about this morning, getting that day off, we've obviously mentioned the pub, down to the pub, having a few beers and sorting, that thing of just making sure we're all on the same page and bits and bobs. But I mean, generally speaking, that's the whole point of the one chance thing, is that he can do any small batch that he wants. And then from that, we can decide if there's if it's going to go bigger, we can go into the bigger kit and all the rest of it. But it's a conversation. That's what it should be. It's a collaboration. So we might have an idea, and again, if Liam's got any ideas, he can throw them at us. And if something we go, oh, geez, not heard of lychee and toenails or whatever it is you want to make. But I mean, it's
I don't want to know what that's going to be called. Gads.
This is why I don't brew anymore. But no, absolutely, it's between myself, David, and Liam that we all come up with ideas, and anything that Liam wants to throw into the pot, everything's consideration. It's got to be. It's because it's ever changing. It's the market's ever changing. It goes between, everyone likes fruit this week, everyone likes an IPA this month, and it goes to an Ipa and all the rest of it. But Liam's background's in predominantly a lot of more Nipas and stuff, and we love New England IPAs, and they're banging. And so we're excited about what he's going to come up with. And again, I like the fact with the one chance stuff, we don't need to know. So we're tasting it for the first time at the pub, and we're going, oh yeah, that's the one. Or I could do it, and that's the whole point. Sometimes it's maybe not quite right. We could chat and sort it out, and then we'll try it again and see how we get on. So, and that kind of helps you learn from each other, and it helps you develop your ideas and just constantly, because it's evolving. I mean, these if it were huge. I'm not having a go at them, but for the huge collaborations, they've been making the same beer for 50, 60 years, which is fine. Yep. If you're going to a Rangers game or something, I'm not saying anything about it. If that's your thing, then fair enough. But what I drink red cola. Okay. I can shop. Do you have any red cola flavour? Again, I'm pretty sure I've seen it. There's definitely a beer out there, a red cola beer. I know there's a fake Iron Brewer. There's all sorts. I'm guaranteed you can get a red cola beer if you look hard enough.
Oh really? Oh, that's interesting.
Sure, we'll put that down on the list as well.
I'll put that down on the list. I don't think what's on the list at this point.
Do you think your influences change with the seasons? Like in the summer, is it more fruit
100%
inspired?
Yeah, 100%. It's so like this, because if we've just used the one chance as the opportunity. So when it'll, as the year goes round, now it's like nice, light, fruity, all the rest of it. Slowly you move into autumn, and you'll get sort of a bit more rich, a bit more. If you want to chuck in anything here, man, that's fine. And then by the winter, you want a nice, good. I mean, we've got a whiskey cask sitting up there with 6-month-old beer in it. It's sort of maturing and stuff. And so that's one of them proper winter fire. The fire's on in the pub. Yeah. A wee half pint of that. Oh my.
Oh really? How long will that sit in there for then?
So that's generally. So we've had the first batch out. So we made. So it comes out about, so we've got a whiskey sour, that was really good, so that was called Jock Daniels, it may be about plagiarism there, I'm not too sure. We've got an old fashioned, so it's an old fashioned whiskey sour that we've made. Right. And so it's got the hints of it, a wee bit of orange peel and zest and stuff in there, and it really lifts it. But again, they're not for your average, your peely is for your sort of sit down in the sunshine. Yeah. That's absolutely for, because it's just, full blood, it's a proper kick in the arse beer sort of thing. Yeah. You need to enjoy that one. And again, the percentage is high. And the whole point is, it's you relax and enjoy that one.
So you've got real connoisseurs reaching out for stuff.
Yeah, and again, I think most breweries now as well will probably have, their core beers and stuff, and that's the stuff that obviously gets out there. But everyone will have something, where it's slightly different. And again, with having the pub and Liam and doing the one chances, you can just have something completely unique that no one else has got, and then you can upscale it if needs be, or if it tastes like shite, unfortunately. You know, you just don't. Not that everything's going to taste like shite. I don't know. Do you see me hide the shite that one? No, it's going to like shite. But if it doesn't work, you know, because we've had real interesting ones, but it's some things are stronger than others, shall we say. So.
Do you get people that drink these beers, and because they're all so unique and unique tasting, do you get, I hate using the phrase member of the public, fans, connoisseurs reaching out and going, what about this for an idea, what about that for an idea? Because I imagine it's kind of like if someone walks up to me, I've got a joke for you, so there's this, no, I don't need to hear this, I know where this is going. And I mean, with greatest respect to those people, do you have people reaching out with that?
You know, your line is, I've got a joke for you, my line is, I get this all the time, and it's like, you know what you should do?
Oh, right, here it
so
goes.
I get that all the time, so you get, you know what you should do like a such and such, and you're going, well, we've thought of everything, you know, there's limitations of what we can do, and obviously, and we know we want a low ABV beer. We know we want a gluten-free. You know, there's loads, but I mean, where does it doesn't stop. You know, there's always someone that comes up and says, you know what you should do? You should do a dandelion and burdock mixed with peregrine falcon and eyeballs. Do you know what I mean? It's you know going. Is
that going to be in the list? Is that on the list?
Sure, we'll put it in the maybe pile.
Maybe pile.
We'll have to think about that one later.
We're finding it hard to find the burdock just now.
But that's the best thing about having the little pilot kit. Like it's like maybe a 50-litre length, and we'll get like a 30-litre keg out of it. But like, you can just push the boundaries, do something that sounds in theory absolutely stupid, and if it is crap, then you know we've used like a tenner worth of ingredients. So we've used
£150 worth of ingredients. Don't bad. But again,
not involved in the costing just yet.
So, but because I mean, it only goes to the pub. So we've got a great following at the pub who are just sitting waiting for the next one to come out.
So that's your testers then,
that's your feedback. Is there real anticipation?
There is.
So there's going to be nerves. Is there going to be nerves? Because the last thing you want is someone taking a sip, someone you know that's looking for, for fuck's sake, that's the last thing you want.
Touch wood, it's not happened yet, but it's because they're always unique.
Yeah.
You go in and you might just have a half or a pint or something like that. So you just have the wee half or the pint. And so it is unique. And, you know, myself, David and Liam as well, and again, Liam's only been here for a while, and Nolan previously, the amount of times we'd make it, send it down to the pub and go, I'm going to nick down and get a wee growler off it, and it's gone.
Yeah.
You know, so
wow.
We're not even tasting the stuff.
I was about to say, do you not even get a little...
You'll get a wee sample, but it's not the finished article. So,
right.
I mean, for instance, Peely's in the tank behind us. If you tried that now compared to the Peely's in the can,
completely different.
Yeah, they're similar, but I mean there's certainly differences in the sort of characteristics of it and everything like that. So
speaking about Peely, you were talking that was the first one you ever made, and there was a variation between like 2% and 7%. Yeah. What gives it the percentage?
Yeah.
Like how do you go from
in that case?
See the way you braced yourself up for that. There we go.
Have I just dug a hole?
I know you're going to say. In the case of the 2% and 9%, it's because me and David didn't have a clue what we were doing.
All right,
we are not intentionally doing that. That is just us messing around.
I should rephrase it. What causes a percentage? Like
just came down to which part of it they messed up that time. So it's all going to come down to like the pure amount of grain you use. So whether it be malted barley or unmalted barley or wheat or oats or whatever particular grain. Generally, mostly malted barley. So it'll just be the ratio of that to the amount of water you use.
Right, okay.
So if you want 2% beer, on this kit we might be using 150 kilo of grain or 200 kilo of grain. And for a big 7% beer, you'll be using 500-600 kilo
more grain. Okay.
So that'll just give you the amount of sugar in solution.
I see.
And it'll also be the temperature of the process during it. So if you mash it at a hotter temperature, like the way the enzymes will work, some of the enzymes will kind of knocked out and denatured, and they won't be able to break down the starch that's in the grain to turn it into a sugar that can be consumed by the yeast.
Okay.
So you'll just be left with kind of more complex sugars that are left in there. So it'll give you like a sweeter beer, but then it won't be as strong because a lot of that sugar hasn't been converted into alcohol.
That makes sense. Yeah. All right, thanks, man.
Don't go trying that at home, by the way.
Yeah. In the kitchen.
These home kits that you get. I remember my dad doing a really bad one.
Like really?
Yeah, my mum was fairly docile about these things because he's old enough that he used to have party of sevens.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I don't even know. I barely remember what that was. But he fancied having a go at his own one, and I think he lost a tooth. I'm not joking. I think he rotted straight through.
See, I'm on the other side. I think absolutely you should go and buy a kit and just try it because it's I suppose what everyone thinks when you own a brewery or you work in a brewery, run the brewery and all the rest of it, everyone thinks that we are just sitting, getting drunk every day, we're dancing around the place, but they don't realise that, you know, it's about 20% of everything is actually the brewing process. You know, everything else that comes around, you know, the cleaning, the sales, the marketing, there's tons and tons of stuff that comes with it and stuff. But absolutely, because it's just interesting for you to see the process of making the beer, and it's very much if you're making raw beard oils or whatever you're doing, stand-up comedian, you know, it's the same thing. Go and watch a few guys and stand in front of your pal and tell. I mean, you've all done it, and you look like a tit sometimes.
Do you think it pulls people in though, that process then of them going, I've tried this?
It gives them that real understanding of, you know, the sort of back-breaking work that goes into it sometimes. Yeah. So you absolutely go out and buy a kit and see all the flaws that we found, all the failings that we found, but then eventually you keep plugging away. Like again, it's your routine and all the rest of it starts off, I've got this good idea, a good bit here, and you start putting them together, and the next thing you know, you've got a 40-minute routine, and you're in the stand, and you're doing this, that, and the other, you know. So it's the same thing. So get a kit, try it out, and then, you know, in a few months' time, you'll no doubt, and I get it as well, and I don't mind it, so crack on. Bring me some beer, and we'll have a wee bash of it in here and see what we think. Just make sure you clean everything, because we're sick of funky beers coming in the door.
Oh, God.
Oh, that's thanks for that. It's vinegar, you know.
Well, that's the thing. Cleaning is 100% the most important. It's probably about 50-60% of the work that goes on in the brewhouse sort of thing. Like you can have the best recipe in the world, be the best brewer in the world, and make an absolute amazing beer, top world quality. But if it's not clean, it's going to pick up an infection somewhere and just turn into vinegar or turn into some sour, funky. Might be nice, but definitely not what you're going for in the first place.
I feel bad about asking this question, and I don't know what this says about me. What do you mean clean? What do you mean clean?
Clean, as in like you.
Everything is just spotless.
Yeah. So like have a range of different chemicals that we use, but like inside of the tanks and all, there'll be so much crap built up from the previous fermentation. So you need to get everything, you know, physically clean, but then we have to sanitize it as well. Wow. So with peracetic acid, just to kill off any kind of trace of bacteria or wild yeast or anything.
Because it's chemical engineering you guys are effectively doing here.
Yeah.
I'll put that on the CV.
Chemical
engineer. That's it. Chemical engineer.
I don't know if that's true, just in case, because I know you have. And again, you're like, actually, no, it's not, in all fairness.
No, that's good in the CV.
I mean, same process, is just, you know, different scale and different particulars inside. But
exactly on a wee brew kit, it's fundamentally as important as a big brew kit doing the same thing. It's the cleanliness of the brewery or cleanliness of your bucket. I mean, the amount of times I've heard about folk brewing and it just keeps going off, and they're using the same dirty old wooden spoon. They've never cleaned it, you know. And it's simple as that can spoil the whole entire batch. And we've had it once, and we just had some wild yeast in there that got into one of our beers a couple of years ago and spoiled the whole entire batch. And it was fine, and you can just, you know, you have a taste, and, you know, we do a lot of testing the beers just to make sure, one, we like beer, and two, it's just to make sure the quality control. And you're just slowly getting worse, and you're just going, something's happened here. And that's all it was. One little thing in the whole entire process can scupper you. So
no, you don't want that.
No,
you don't want that.
So there is wild yeast and bacteria floating everywhere at all times. So
get your mask back on.
Just worried about that. It's right. We've got a couple of questions, but before we get to that, in terms of you guys hooking up with Braw, I mean, we've got the Moan, then we've got the Pili Wally. How did this come about? Was this something you discovered as just a punter, or I've heard the van story and you hiding in the bushes?
Nah, we were kind of aware of each other. I can't remember how it really came about, but
social media.
The
van's passing. It was almost a wee, hey, how you doing?
Exactly. And we're in the same kind of area. You guys are in Pincaitland, I'm in Ormiston, which is a couple of miles away.
Yes.
So we're also aware of each other. And I think maybe David sent me an email saying just want to come down to the brewery, which was in West Barnes at the time. So West Barnes. So I just went down, introduced myself, we got chatting, and we said, we'll definitely work on something in the future.
Right.
And then the pandemic kicked in, didn't it? So we kept in touch, and we're talking about, it'll be Brawbeard's 9th anniversary in October. So we're talking about doing a special edition beer for Winton Brewery, so a collaboration, which we're looking forward to.
Absolutely.
So, what will a beard taste like? That's what I'm interested to know. What goes on the list?
Did you say beard or beer?
Beard. No, beer in general. I've had a beer once.
Oh, geez, I suppose we want the beer tasting a little bit oily, a little bit rough around the edges.
I see.
We might have to do one or two little trial batches for that one.
Right, okay, that's fair enough.
Oh, that's interesting.
Did the world end? No, I think we're all right.
Yeah, we're still here.
Oh,
Did that happen?
Oh, yeah, just random. Oh, anyway.
How did it? Was that the light outside that went off?
No idea.
That's craft beer for you.
Don't worry about it. That's the yeast doing that. That's all the yeast.
Bloody particles.
So we've got a couple of questions from folks in the Brotherhood and listening to the podcast. We're going to kick this off. We've kind of answered the question already. What type of beer are you making with Braw beer? That's kind of still secret and in the.
I think we're working on the design and stuff just now. I think we've got a good idea what we're actually going to make, but I think it's because it's a couple of months away. Let's build a wee bit of excitement behind it.
Sweet.
I think folk from Winton Brewery fans and Braw Beard Oil fans as well are going in for a right treat, I reckon. So it's going to be brilliant. Proper banging.
Well, we've got where did the name come from? The inspiration of flavours. We'll get this one out of the way because it's always a flavour. Pineapple on the pizza, yes or no? Odd one.
Oh, see, I know folk hate it, but I don't mind it.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it
at all.
You look disgusted by that.
No, it's not bad. It's just that there's so many better things you could put on, like more or less anything else.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
You got a nice spicy one. You know, it's just that wee bit of freshness in there,
a wee bit of sweetness,
punchy sweetness.
And with you, man, I quite like it.
Exactly.
I quite like it. It's quite controversial, but
it's like people that like raspberry jam and don't like strawberries. What's the matter with you? I don't know. It's the same thing. What's the matter with you? It's effectively the same thing.
Like, bottom line, it's still pizza.
Exactly. It's still pizza.
No matter what it is, even a bad pizza is still going to be pretty good.
Pizza.
Pizza's still good. Absolutely.
If it was free, you'd eat it. And that's how I met my wife. Right. Other than... She won't listen to this. She's too busy listening to her murder podcasts every time. I think she's getting an idea. Every time I come in the house, it's something else.
My missus listens to Shuggy Bean. It seems like
Shuggy
everyone's
Bean?
listening to Shuggy Bean. You say it different to me.
It's Shuggy Bean, isn't it?
Shuggy Bean.
I've never heard.
It seems like everyone's podcast staffed and all the rest of it.
Podcast staff. There's a podcast about everything. There's been a podcast set up reviewing this podcast and why we've been doing it during the course of it. We had another question. I guess we kind of only touched on it. David actually sent in, other than a name, what is the difference between an IPA and a Nipia? A Nipa. Other than a name.
Well, I mean, IPA is going to be kind of like a big sort of overbranching category of loads of different kind of smaller sub-styles.
What does it stand for?
IPA is India Pale Ale.
Right, okay.
Which is one of those age-old, anytime you get a brewer chatting away, they'll tell you about the story of how the IPA was born and that it was, beers were being sent off to India, like when it was a colony, and they wanted beers that would last longer in the barrel, so they threw a shit ton more hops into them to give it more sort of microbial stability and a stronger taste, so that by the time it got to India, it was still good, palatable.
Well, I think that's interesting. I don't know about anybody else.
To learn something new there.
I don't know about anybody else. I thought that was good.
There's a much longer story, isn't there? But I think that's the basis covered with it.
It all started in 1760. But a New England IPA is one that's kind of cropped up in the last sort of maybe 3-4 years. So what happened mainly in the US, it was with craft beer, it seems just kind of things sort of start in the US and then come over here and then spread from here everywhere else. But so what they were making was a West Coast IPA. So it was, crystal clear, insanely bitter. So with hops, you can either get a load of bitter flavors out of them or kind of like the more sort of tropical fruity flavors depending on when you use them in the process.
Right.
So if they're around high heat during the boil for a long period of time, you get those bitter flavors extracted out of it, and you lose the sort of the fruity flavors. But it got into what was known as the Ibu Arms Race. So Ibu is the measurement for how bitter a beer is.
Right.
So someone made quite a bitter beer, and then someone was like, let's knock that up a little bit, and it got to the point that people were there, taking a sip and puckering their face up and being like, "Oh, perfect, yeah."
There's always someone.
Got to just a big, contest of who could show off the most, sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that switched from a West Coast to a New England IPA, where they kind of went, you know what, let's just do the complete opposite.
Right.
So instead of getting a crystal clear, they used a lot of wheat notes and other adjuncts, and yeast that didn't drop out clear quite well, so it left the beer really, really hazy.
Yeah.
And went, instead of making it really, really bitter, let's use no bittering hops whatsoever and go absolutely minimal bitterness.
Okay.
And then instead just whack up on the hops towards the end of the brewing process, just to get those. Well, you can get so many different flavors, but mostly sort of fruity, citrus, kind of tropical, and you can go into like dank and herby and stuff as well, different flavors, and just kind of turn them up to 110%.
Amazing.
Just get a big whack of hops in your face as opposed to a load of bitterness. Like, so that's a New England.
So there you go. But I think you find IPA was invented. None of it. I'm going to pass that off as information I don't know. So we're coming out at the end, hopefully, of the pandemic. Things seem to be going in the right direction. What's the plans? Because you hinted at words expansion. We've got the pub, we've got the guys waiting on your new batch to find out what's going on there. I'm excited. I don't know if Lychee and Tony Hill is what they're expecting.
I'm still on probation. This might be the end of me.
All right, okay. So what's the plans?
So annoyingly, we took on the pub last year, 1st of April, which ironically is obviously April Fool's Day and all the rest of it. So the pub was closed for a couple of weeks before we took it on, and this was David's idea, so full kudos to David in this one. We thought about doing takeaway beers and sort of like takeaway howlers and growlers.
Brilliant.
And that done phenomenally well. If you remember this time last March, you know, it was sunny, everyone was just walking around drunk in the afternoon and stuff, because everyone was off, so apart from us, but everyone was off, and it was actually, you know, it was a good I thought it was a brilliant time, because folk just stopped for a while, and everyone stopped on the rat race, and we all just went, you know what, let's enjoy the sunshine and talk to your pals and bits and bobs, before we knew it was coming, obviously. So the pub has done, even through lockdown and then the opening and closing and all the, you know, the pain in the backside we've had with legislation and not being able to open or closing, and it's been really tricky. But what's enabled us is to survive, really. Without the pub, Winton Brewery, I don't think would have been here, genuinely. It's because everyone is shut, but we still had this one customer that, you know, covered the wages, covered bills and bits and bobs, and so it really saved our skin. So as we always say to everyone, you know, it's a massive thanks to whoever supported the pub, particularly the folk of Dunbar down there that really supported us and helped us out. But moving on from that, so we're at hopefully the other end of it all, and so with Liam on board now, we've moved from West Barnes to here, so we've got everything here now, and it's just, you can't really put your finger on what's actually happened. It's just, it seemed that everywhere's open and folk are looking for new beers. And we've got, as I was saying earlier on, we've got beers just randomly going into different countries, and folk are getting in touch, and our deliveries are, you know, compared to even 2 years ago, it's huge. You know, it's a big, massive step we've taken. So, and again, with having, you know, Liam's full time, obviously, we've got Vicky down in the pub, and she does all the bar stuff, and then she does her events, and you've met Vix, and she's phenomenal. So she absolutely, she'll just grab everything by the horns and go. And so we've got like 6 or 7 members of staff down at the pub now, so and they're all well looked after, you know. Well, I think we'll look after them anyway. So it's going from strength to strength. We're now at the stage where we need a new brew kit. We can't keep up with orders and stuff, so we need to double up the size of kit. So we're hoping to sort that out hopefully next week and get that sorted out. And I mean, that'll be huge for us. It just alleviates all the issues of, you know, the bottleneck of the production. So so it really is going. It's a real positive time for Winton Brewery, and it's, I mean, I genuinely feel we've got the best people that we need in the brewery, in the pub. So it's a real collaborative thing, and with myself and David sitting at the top. I mean, we're hands on. You know, we're part of it. We want to be part of it. We're not sort of sitting there going, leave it off to them now. You know, it's we need to be involved. It's our baby. You know, it's without us, I'm sure it doesn't all just fall apart, but I mean, I think we're the driving force that keeps everyone on point with the brand and all the rest of it. So without sounding too, you know, sounds a bit wanky, I'm saying that.
Just right at the end. Straight at the end.
I know, I dropped it in and I said,
I was like, there it is, though.
Exactly, all of a sudden,
they needed that.
I needed I want to get that voice in there.
All right, just one last question then. We've got all your drinks here in front of us. Nice, hot, summer day, middle of the Euros. What's the go-to? What's the go-to for both of you? What's the go-to?
See, the thing is, genuinely, and it sounds like, I can go to them all, because they're all different, so they all have different characteristics. But more than anything, because it's the newest and it's in New England, that's my go-to beer at the minute. That's the one I'd get a pint of down there. But Peely on a cold, if you get it nice and cold on a summer's day down at, you know, the Waterside Bistro locally to here or something, it's phenomenal. but then lager's good, and then I like a sour from time to time. Do you know what I mean?
So just a little bit of everything is what you're going for.
Pour it all into one.
Put it on a bucket, get a straw.
Pour it back in that bucket. 2 straws done.
I think like I love the sours, but they're not beers you have 6 or 8 or 10 of them. Like so go for the tops off with them on, then the lager or the New England IPA. Have 1 or 2 of them. Drop a sour in there to kind of cleanse the palate.
Absolutely.
And then move back on to something else. Like
go again.
Just working the way through it.
Rinse and repeat.
Going to be smashed. But listen, guys, thank you so much. Again, where's the best place to get in touch? Where's the best place for people to get in touch with what's going on with you guys?
It's nice and straightforward. All the socials are at Winton Brewery and wintonbrewery.com for orders. Free delivery locally, so that's around about EH and KY. I'm pretty sure FK. So FK and K at EH, you get free delivery with that. Orders over 20 quid. But all the socials, to give us a shout, tag us in with stuff, and we'll hopefully see you down here soon for a pint.
Definitely.
Okay. Nice one. Thanks
Definitely.
very much, guys.
All right, well, listen, that's all we got time for this episode on Braw Cast. Don't forget to head over, check out everything that's going on over at Braw Beard Oils. Get yourself some merchandise and beard oil. Yes. Get yourself the neck gator, which I finally learned the name of, as opposed to a chin sleeve, which I called it the other week. You don't know, you just have a go, don't you? Make sure to check that out, and of course, make sure to order yourself some amazing stuff from our pals here. And if you're down the Dunbar way, check out. Where's the furthest we can get these beers going?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Where's the furthest we can get them going?
That is a challenge.
Do you know what I mean? Jason, you're in New Zealand. Come on.
I've got a pal of ours lives in Australia, so we've had some photographs on Bondi Beach with it
and
really?
Stuff. Nice.
In New Zealand next. Where's the farthest we can get this going?
Yeah, I love it getting to New Zealand.
Let's try and make that happen. Right, that's all we've got time for. Cheers. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers, boys. Thank you very much. Thank you, boys. Thanks.